And so as I've gotten further into my coaching career and further away from playing, like one of the things I've gone to is I don't let my hitters hit the ball like, you know, that the typical first round of BP where everybody's trying to shove the barrel and try to hit the ball the other way. Like I've quit letting them do that because it's a bad hitting position.
No way! Did you just hear that? did you coach, you listening to this, did you just hear what that man said? Did you hear that? Because the amount of young players that are literally, well, when you tell good big league hitters to think about staying inside the ball, but it's a ball they're supposed to pull, they still pull the ball. They hammer it. When you tell little kids to do that and you force them to do it, they will stay inside the ball so long that they end up filleting and cutting and never ever deliver.
It's terrible. It's just, I mean, it's just, to me, it's just like the, you know, you don't want to swing severely up. You don't want to swing severely down. I don't want to swing that's way around it. I don't want guys sliding inside the ball and cutting balls that they should be hitting out of the ballpark or driving. Like for me, the biggest thing that I see with young hitters now is nobody can backspin the ball to the pull side and in the air. I mean, they don't know how to do it. Yep. A lot of them are underneath and over the top, so they hit the top spin
because
ball.
Their barrel is too deep too early.
That's right.
And their lower half is spinning,
yep.
So they have nothing to stop against, and they can't hold their directional line, and everything comes up and over this way, and it's sliced that way, and
yep.
It's like an epidemic.
Is when I get disconnected. The brain is an amazing.
Hold on. I need you to show me what connected and disconnected are, please.
Disconnected is when my hips run away from my hands. So my hips have moved. It's when my hips start and my hands haven't moved yet, and now I'm disconnected.
Hold on. Do you understand how many coaches are teaching that?
Oh yeah.
On purpose.
Yeah, because they think, oh well, we're gonna stretch the rubber band and then we're gonna release it into the ball, and that's just bad hitting. Guys, it's like you can hit bad pitching with a bad swing, but when you're trying to hit elite pitching, you have to have an elite swing. That's not an elite swing.
Do you know how many people that I have to, and I have science to back up all of it. I did lab for 7 years.
Yeah.
I can literally explain why that has to happen.
Yeah.
And why all those people are using pseudoscience that they don't understand, and they're using a bad model for shaping their understanding of the body. Like you know what I tell everybody? Imagine this. Imagine you take a cable machine and you rack it full of weight and you grab it with your hands and you say, okay kid, I want you to move this weight as fast as you can this way, but I want you to yank it with your hips.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Like,
well, it's just like, I mean, I got a couple different ways that, you know, what you're talking about. I talk about keeping your hips square to the plate as long as you can, you know, in the course of and even if that's not really, I think the super slow motion camera has been the bane of a lot of hitting instruction, because in the kinetic chain, if you break it down, yes, I mean the hips are going to initiate slightly before, but then the hands have to catch up and pass and lead the swing.
Yes, bro. So, the hands have to outrace the hip as fast as you possibly can.
But that's
right. That is right.
Well,
yes.
So the disconnected swing, going back to what I was holding forth on earlier, was like, so when I get disconnected, and then I don't know, you probably have done more scientific research, but for me, intuitively, it's like I know the brain is an amazing computer, and if you give the brain a task, it's going to do whatever it has to do to try to accomplish that task. So if I get disconnected, which means my barrel is late, my hands are late, they're stuck back here, and the ball's here. Now I know I got to get this barrel to that ball. I got two choices. I can really like flip the barrel to get it there quicker, or I can shorten the knob by pulling, or shorten the knob by pulling the knob, and that's that. You know, so you got the two mishits, which is the rollover ground ball and the shank fly ball to the opposite field. So a lot of those kinds of misses are caused by the disconnection early on. Which also, to me, the whole swing starts with how you load the bat, because if you don't get a good load, we're getting into more stuff, but I look at it like throwing a baseball. So if I'm going to get in my stance and I give myself a baseball and I'm going to throw it as hard as I can to the back of the cage, I'm going to get a good negative move or a load with my hands, and now my brain's like, you got plenty to generate force. Well, if I have a shot put and I can't separate or load, and I get right here and I got to try to throw it this way, I'm going to push. I'm going to use my body to force so I think a lot of the problems go back to you're not loading correctly, and if you don't load correctly, you're going to have a hard time staying connected, and if you have a hard time staying connected, you're not going to hit.
So I'll be honest, I have a different take on why they're bad.
Okay, they could be. I mean, like I said, this is just...
Well, no, I think you're going to like this. So if you had to... So in my 7 years having a lab and working with kids from like 8 years old up to big leaguers, and being able to test them and being able to really observe and watch, which age bracket do you think was the closest biomechanically to the most elite big leaguers? Do you think it was...
Probably the youngest kids.
Yes! It was the young... So, I'm literally, there is no little kid that has any of the issues we're talking about.
Right.
None. All of it is taught and learned.
Yep.
It's all taught and learned. It's when man thinks he knows more than God, and rather than allowing the human being with 2 arms and 2 legs to swing the stick and strike the object, you think that things become a thing when everybody does the opposite. So why is there turn the back foot? Because little kids don't turn their back foot. Why is there turn the hips? Because little kids are more mobile. They don't turn their hips. You have to pull the slack out. It has to anchor the other way. Your back foot used to go back into the ground, through it back, because when this is rotating this way, this has to go the other way. It has to go, you can't, the human body has to go in opposite directions at the same time. It's a foundational principle to all human locomotion. No one walks same arm, same leg, same time. Everything is across the body. You watch that kid kick that 87-yard field goal last week. His left shoulder was so close to his right hip at impact, it was ridiculous. Right? Like, that's why when you watch a video of Babe Ruth, you see him kick back. When you watch Paul Molitor, he was angled closed. When you watch George Brett, he stood off the plate and stepped closed. When you watch anybody that gets to more weight distributed to their front side and their backside releases, they're going to scissor. When you see somebody that's more centered in their anchor, you're not going to see a scissor. You're going to see the heel get picked up and then re-anchor back down. Right? Or hold on somehow.
Right.
Because the swing, everybody talks about it from the ground up. It's not ground up. We've been coached into that. That is not the case. It's top down.
That's exactly how I teach it.
Let's go! Let's go! That's why I love these conversations. All this stuff resonates. Like, if I'm going to throw a punch, this is going to load around this hip, this is going to deliver against this. And if we can all agree that if ground force plates tell us how well we're using the ground, right, and the best players create the most force isn't created until we land, and it's from the upper body sending energy through the legs, pinning them to the floor. It's just being read at the ground. All these dopies are reading it this way, thinking using your legs is push out and spin your hips. It's not. These are reactive to what this does. If I jump in the air on a trampoline to throw a ball and I reach back, my hips are going to do that. And then I throw it, my hips are going to do this. That's how the body works. You don't have to try. It's going to do it on its own.
That's exactly. I got fired as a hitting coach at Rice for trying to teach it from the top down. Because my argument to Coach Graham was like, I've never been around an elite hitter that you had to worry anything about their lower half. Like, you never have to even talk to them about it because they just do it. And so if you, and that's part of my theory of like, if I can get them to load properly, in which I try to be as open-minded as I can and want to evolve my thinking, and just by watching.
I can show you a million ways to get everything you want to see to happen without even thought for some guys.
Yeah, and I used to be a big advocate of, and I still am to a certain degree, because I do think the best hitters generate, for the most part. Now you can always go like a Paul Molitor or a Moises Alou, or what I would call a dead-handed hitter, a guy that doesn't really move his hands. But for the most part, most elite hitters like move their hands. They have some kind of rhythm with their hands. But I know, and I have the unique perspective of being a really good left-handed hitter and a pretty bad right-handed hitter. You know, like, and left-handed for me is real easy to think about. Like, I just naturally want to move my hands into my load. Well, right-handed, I never could do that. So what I had to do was I had to preset my load. So I would get into the position that I wanted to end up in and have my separation already created. And so then it was just a matter of rocking back into my hand.
No, hold on. Get your hands back on the bat. Can we get a can you turn so I can get a close up? So show me how your fingers are operating.
Yeah, it's like I got about 6 fingers on the bat. That's what I'm a big grip guy too. Like we would probably, I mean, you see these gorilla over-rotated grips. I like to get, like I just, talk about the hammer, like being able to control the bat head. Like you got to be able to make a move within a move to be a good hitter. Like I got to be able to go, oh, that's a changeup, and ball's moving away.
So let me see that real quick. So grips I am obsessed with because I see grip changes do amazing things for swings, right? Just a little grip change and all of a sudden, like the whole thing is different. So if you think about it like this, like guys have different degrees and ranges. Like even though everybody walks opposite arm, opposite leg, and there's principles behind human movement, there's things that are different. Length of levers, range of motion, length of digits, size of palm. Like all of those things play a role into where someone needs to be positioned based on what their body can do. If you think about a pool hole swing, right? Very much in the fingers, right? Drops in like extension with the fingers. If you think Hank Aaron and you think Jose Altuve, back of the hand and the wrist just roll. It's like it's a supination, it's a clean, pretty bat path. It's a release this way and it just rolls through, right? It's physically impossible to take a Pujols kind of swing with the bat back here.
Right.
It's physically impossible.
Yeah.
So if you are meant to swing like a Pujols, but you have your hands like this and your wrists don't want to do that, that's not going to work, right? So like there's all different patterns and different ways. So like we go through grip testing and there's all different grips. But when I saw that, I was like, okay, like that's one of the most successful ones. If you have somebody that's like a little steep with the barrel, and you go top hand, we call it the hang loose grip. So pinky on top, 3 fingers, run the thumb up just a little bit. And now all of a sudden, instead of being pushy, it wants to just release. With left-right guys, a lot of guys get super like, because right hand's the dominant hand. And as hitting coaches, we've always tried to like teach the top hand to work. I have found that it is way easier
to weaken the bottom hand.
To let the bottom hand dominate the move. Get it to dominate the move, because this always ends up dragging and doesn't get delivered. So if you can take this and let the brain map the swing from backwards, so show the guy a bat drop swing, show the guy like the end of what one of those swings looks like, and have him just try to get there, and then all of a sudden you see.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, because we do a lot of backwards coaching, like look where your barrel ends up and then trace it backwards. And then you can know, kind of what your swing did.
Yes.
And we got a lot of guys, which I call the Santa Claus swing, where they end up like throwing the pack over their back shoulder like this. And I'm like, all right, well, so if your barrel is doing this, I mean, look at how, like, you got to be pretty steep in the course of the swings. So like we get a lot of check mark, what I call the check mark swings, which we get down and then up out of the zone real quick. And so if I see this. And I know that the guy, again, this is all like more information than just this. Like if I see a good path and I see a guy do that, I won't say anything. But if I see that a guy is like this and this, I'm like, all right, well, look at where you're ending up. Trace that backwards. I mean, your barrel's moving straight up to get to that position.
Yeah, that's reverse chaining, back chaining. Like
most good hitters that I have watched want to finish like right at the deltoid. You go back and look at I call it the low flat rollover, but like Mickey Mantle was a big finish
so
like that.
Barry Bonds here,
Low.
low. Robinson Cano, low. Like I'm talking hip and down, like that's 100%. All right, we have to shoot the intro. This is ridiculously awesome. Like this is everything that I hoped it could be and more, because you like literally. Like all the things that you're like, I knew it too.
Well, I'd love to hear some new stuff too, because I mean, it's like we get in.
There's not going to be a smarter hitter that you'll ever talk to. I promise.
Yeah, it's think about it like this. It's not new stuff.
Or a new way of saying it. I don't know.
Okay, so I think as educators, right? We're judged based on our ability to reach the person in the back of the room, not the person in the front. And there are kids that it's just very easy for them. You tell them to do something and they can just do it. They can make their body do a bunch of different things. And when they do it one way and they say, nah, I kind of like this, like, oh, okay, and they can do it. But there's a lot of guys that are not like that. And there's even a lot of talented guys that are not like that. So it's more about how many ways can we say all of these different things and how many ways can we get them. The biggest thing is getting them to feel it. Understanding it here is one thing. And
I always, is if you can feel it, you can fix it. That's what I tell you.